Hey everyone, welcome back to Making Comics with Pepper. On today's show, we are talking storyboarding for film or possibly animation, depending on how you want to look at it, and comics and how they can correlate. The reason why I bring up this subject is there's a lot of videos out on YouTube already about storyboarding and correlating them with comics, and some people talk about the similarities and how people think that they are similar, and other people, say it's a tool. I use it as a tool, and I'm going to discuss on why I use it for certain things, especially when I'm making campfire stories of Lake Kiki Poppy. If you watch the episode where me and Bill are talking about making the comic for ourselves that we do together, that way, you would have found out that Bill comes from a place where he writes screenplay, and because it's a screenplay, sometimes it's a lot easier just to plan out the page based off of what he's written in the shot, how it's supposed to be developed, and how I can actually add panels to, or actually possibly just use what he's describing perfectly for one panel. The main thing I want to make sure that you guys get out of this is a tool. This is not meant for anything else other than, a tool to utilize if you're stuck, a tool to utilize if you're having a hard time communicating with a writer because you're working on something that you're not writing yourself. This is just to help with dialogue of how you're planning this comic that you're working on. And let's just get started. Alright, so to establish what we're doing, this is the horizontal layout that I normally use, and then I'm going into looking up storyboards. These storyboards are ones I learned when I was doing graphic design, in school and actually out of school, establishing and helping with commercials and that sort of deal. So my background was coming from a place where people asked to have some of this stuff done. I did this very far between. It's not like something that I really like to focus on as a career, but I found it as a useful tool for a lot of things. Very useful tool. Main reason why is I think it helps me make my comics better. It helps me with planning things in my head, making sure that I'm doing proper angles, that sort of stuff. So right now, in the video, if you're looking at that too, I am going from the horizontal to the vertical. I wanted to use the horizontal as the first because that's what I work with. Some people, they don't. They use the vertical. And there's nothing wrong with that. Nothing at all. You can establish whatever you want to do your way. Okay. In the meantime, you have fun with this. All I can say is at this point, I'm just kind of making sure that the layout's done. This is just to show that you can do the layout. I'm using InDesign, but that's the program I'm using. If you have an alternative to InDesign, use it. If you just want to draw them, use that. If you want to just use the template that I'm going to be offering for free download down below, go ahead. If you want to use that template but you don't really have a printer and you just want to use it to help you draw one, do that as well. Totally up to you. Yeah, I got super frustrated with myself because I kind of started doing an insanity loop. So yep, there it goes. I just deleted one side because I was tired of getting that insanity loop. Anyways, I did that, and then I made the rest of them. I established the 2 shots because I like doing 6 per page. It's a lot easier. It's easier for me to stay under a certain amount of panels per comic page that I can do. My writer, Bill, who is my other half, you know, some say better half, anyhow, he writes theatrically. He writes like a screenplay. So for me, I had to do it this way for me to kind of break down and what he wrote so that I can make sure that I was doing things properly on how he saw it. I use this as a tool to break down and make sure that I'm communicating properly with my writer. That's what I mean by tool, is storyboarding for yourself. You can do that. If you're writing the story, you're doing the story, and you want to storyboard of yourself, that's great. It's different than thumbnailing. A lot of people say that they're similar. Yes, thumbnailing and story paneling or storyboarding are the same thing. Story paneling is something that is similar as well, but basically, thumbnailing a whole page for a comic, you know, you can do that. Thumbnailing for anything, you can do that. But the difference between storyboarding and thumbnailing is storyboarding, you're focusing on one aspect of an animation or film. And I say that because it kind of it's follow suiting. You're establishing a shot, you're establishing an angle, you're establishing everything about what visually you're going to be looking at. A comic panel can still show movement. It just depends on how you draw it. It's just limited on what it can do. Like, obviously, if you're printing this, there's not going to be movement. There's no animation. If you're doing a webcomic, you can make an animation out of it. Totally up to you. It depends on how you want to do it and how you want to go forward. It's almost 3 o'clock in the morning here. But this is me saving the files right now and ending the session of making the templates that are going to be available for you to download down below. But like I said, these are tools that I use to help me communicate with my writer. It's the best possible thing I can do, and I'm not going to knock it. So anyhow, I'm going to be moving to the art desk very soon, and we will pick everything from there. I'm back. Yeah. So as you can see, the horizontal and the vertical, right there. The vertical goes aside because as I said, I use horizontal for my process a lot more. That page with script, that is actually the script from Campfire Stories of Lake Kiki Poppy, Chapter 2, Part 1. As you can see, I started writing and doing everything in red. I learned very quickly that was not showing up on the camera. So, sorry. Yay! Alright. Main thing with this is if you're seeing, I'm starting to do that. I haven't realized, yeah, I probably need a darker pencil. But I'm establishing with shot 1. Shot 1 is interesting. It is specifically focusing on a sign that says office for the camp. Page 1 takes place in the modern day camp before the campfire's happening. It's a little bit earlier in the day. Not great time yet to, you know, put a campfire out yet. You know, they haven't established that yet, but again, that's going to be lighting, that's going to be aspects. This is essentially, if you're a writer, you'll get this part. This is my first rough draft. This is like basically the rough draft. This is something that I'm using this to make sure that I'm going to get through this the best possible way I know how. In writing, you have the rough draft, you have the first draft, and then you have the second, the third. It's up to you. And then you have people edit, you have people look at it, you have people comment, you know, you do tweaks, you do this, you do that. Essentially, I'm repeating this storyboard from talking to Bill and going through and talking to our editor at times and making sure that I'm establishing everything properly, at least with story flow. Taking individual panels and doing it like an animation or a film helps both me and Bill communicate, because this is what it is. Since he comes from a film type background, it's a lot easier for him to realize where I'm going. And it's a lot easier for me to know that I'm on the same page with him. With that being said, you can completely do this on your own for yourself if you've written the story and you're at a place where you're stuck and you don't know how you want to move forward with the story. This is perfect, because you can sit there and write down your thoughts and then you can draw them. And if it's not working, what's the worst thing that you can do? You replace the panel, you replace what you're talking about. You can just have extra like little storyboard things cut out, and then you just tape them down and put them straight over your mistake, like, you know. Or you can just erase it. It's up to you. It depends on what you're using. This is not so. This is like more free-formed. It's not supposed to be rigid. It's very flexible. But these are to help you if, like, say you want to take your comic and eventually you want to do like some small animation. This also will help you establish how you want it filmed for the animation, but also if you don't want to do animation and you actually want to film live people to do your comic, this works applicable as well. Like, you know, you get to plan what you want to do and such that it happens. It's going to work that way. It's going to be that way, and it's going to work best for you. And that's what I want you guys to realize is I'm talking about you want to use whatever is going to work best for you. You do not want to work under the impression that you have to specifically gauge yourself by things that you feel are set in stone. This is a very flexible process, and this is a tool. Anyways, as I was talking, I did realize that I wrote down all the shots that I was supposed to get from the script, and now after establishing the first shot, and I wrote everything down, I start back at the final shot, and the thing is the final shot is where I'm going. The first shot is where I started, and then from the shots, when I say shot, it's actually, that's a panel. That's like supposed to be one part of the comic. And like I'm kind of like doing the lighting aspects right now, where you're seeing, like, I'm getting frustrated with myself again. Essentially, panel 1 has a lighting set. Panel 4, 3, and panel 4, 5, and 6 have lighting set. Panels 2 and 3 don't have lighting set because there's multiple angles, and instead of doing multiple thing like I did the gist, essentially these are like something that has like multiple aspects that are going on about it that kind of I have to communicate a little bit more specifically, other than a simple here's the lighting, here's where it's going. If I'm going to hand this off to a colorist, I'm going to be more detailed about the lighting aspects of those two panels, 2 and 3. Whereas the panels 1, 4, and 5 and 6, they're going to be single light, like this is on how the lighting is supposed to be, this is where shadows are casting, all of that stuff. This is a narrative. As you see right now, you see panel 4, you're seeing one figure and then there's an arrow. It's the same figure and he's supposed to be moving. Obviously with within the shot, when you're thinking about comics, you can't exactly have a printed material move. We're not part of the wizard world, so you know things don't do that yet. No, I'm just joking. No, like you'll get to see, because I actually have already finished page 1 of chapter 2, part 1 of Lake Keep Poppy. So you'll get to see that shortly and see what I did. You know, I did accidentally cut off part of the bottom. I apologize, but you can see what I've done. It may be towards the bottom, but you can see what I've done. Anyways, the one that I just did, the panel 3, the way that it's described is it's actually supposed to be a focus in shot, and then it's supposed to zoom out and go around to the backside of Dick Pober. All of these shots are supposed to be centered around one character, or at least one aspect of this character. And so first one is the office where he's at, then he's coming out the front door, then he's breathing in, inhaling and exhaling, then he's going over seeing the camper, like the camp counselors, and then so here's the page right now, and I'm actually breaking it down. So the first panel that you see is that's that office sign, that's the campers going towards the office sign. The background's slanted so that like everything's gonna go around that office sign, you know. And I even have a little bit of a shadow to establish she's in the office. And then he barges out of the door. That's what panel 2, that's that one. Panel 3, it's a zoom around shot. So I start with him inhaling, exhaling, and then going to the backside of the character of Dick Pober, which, you know, he's seeing where he wants the story to be told that night because he wants to tell it. And then so that one that's right there that I said that like had to show movement, I broke it up so there's like a slant that shows like a very small thin in between aspect of the two, that's supposed to tell a story that's supposed to go right down into it. Basically it's the same shot, it's just one has them going forward, one has them looking over at the kids that are the camp counselors that are trying to set everything up. And then the last one, he's trying to talk to them about moving the campsite, or at least moving for the sake of the campfire story that he's up for telling them. So anyways, with that, it's all good. Have a great rest of your day, and I hope this helps. All right, bye.